Hey there, and welcome to the show. It is live online, live from my remote office in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Brody, and a show that was self-inspired by my decision to focus on my personal life and the people in it, which meant a move from my radio broadcasting job on the West Coast here to the East Coast. And while you're watching the show, if you're watching in real time live, do me a favor and drop a comment and let me know where you're watching. I'm always interested in seeing where people happen to be watching from. So, all right. So I'm excited about tonight's guest, partially because we have a unique story about how we met just a few weeks ago. And her name is Peggy Kelley. She is a wedding and event planner, but she is also a domestic violence survivor. And so she is going to be sharing her story tonight from the courtroom to walking down the aisle. And if you would like, you'll have the ability to ask her questions during the show just by dropping them in the comment. But first, we've got to do our live online check-in, and Claire, who is a little camera shy, she didn't want to be on video. Let's see, Claire, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, Claire.
Hi.
So you're a little camera shy?
I'm a little camera shy.
Claire, by the way.
Claire didn't want to do her hair. It rhymed.
Speaking in the third person. So Claire was a guest on my first podcast back in the fall, the Pajama Podcast, part of the Life Audit series, where at that time, Claire, you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do, if you wanted to keep being in your job, which, why don't you explain what you do? You work at the hospital, but what is your exact position?
So I work in a hospital. I'm a radiology technologist. So I work in a level 1 trauma center operating room. So it's a big operating room. And I do the imaging for surgeries. And basically what that does is it makes procedures and surgeries that you have less invasive because of imaging technology. And I'm the person that does the imaging for it.
And so have you made any decisions about maybe doing a different kind of role or switching?
I have. I actually had a job offer and that I declined about 40 minutes ago.
Wow.
Within the hour.
Breaking news.
I know. And it was strictly due to financial reasons, stability reasons. So I have thought about other things, but I'm not making great headway when it comes to branching out and making leaps of faith into new job opportunities. But
okay, that's okay. Well, yeah. Besides the fact that we know each other, why is my live online show relevant to you? Why is it interesting to you?
I think that it's really, I love what you're doing. I love that you talk to everybody, or when you talk to everyday people and you really get to know their experiences and what they've gone through in their life, and it gives insight into different aspects of different people's lives that you might not ever see and not understand. And I love that it shows it's you can be introspective after listening and watching your podcast, but just by watching other people, and you relate to certain things, and then you can, do. I'm not doing very good at this, but you can.
You can. That's what happened. I can't edit this. That's okay.
What'd you say?
That's good. That's good. I can't edit this. That's how it goes. I don't hear your cat anywhere. Tell everybody what the name of your cat is.
He's Hamilton.
And where did that name come from?
Well, I am a super fan of the play Hamilton. And he loves to lay in that little Hamilton pose at the top of the star. If you Google Hamilton, you'll see Hamilton musical, you'll see the emblem. And his favorite pose is he lays on his back with his arm up, and it's just like that. And since I'm a super fan, I thought that would be an appropriate name for him.
Well, there you go.
That's where it came from. And he's young, scrappy, and hungry, and he's really rude.
Well, Claire, thank you for, even though you didn't want to be on camera, thank you for dialing into the show.
Well, I'm looking forward to this episode. I can relate to it, so I'm excited about it.
Good. Well, I'm glad. Tell Hamilton I said hi.
Will do.
All right. Bye, Claire.
Right.
And by the way, if you happen to be watching, if you're ever interested in being part of the live online check-in, it's not a very big interview. And apparently I prefer. I was like, Claire, really? You didn't want to be on camera? Come on now. But you can always check in, reach out, brodyradio.com. Let me know you want to be a part of the live online check-in. And I got to say hello to Michael Heath. Hey, Michael Heath and Ken. Hey, Ken. I'm impressed. You started watching right on time too. Look at that. So just drop your city, your state, wherever you're watching, because I'm not going to necessarily assume that whoever's watching is going to be all right here from the Triangle area. So hang on. I promised myself, like the show was my reminder, right? I'm surprised. I'm surprised we found any hand sanitizer with coronavirus, which, by the way, look, so all you have to do is wash your hands, right? Now, I feel like coronavirus is an excuse to remind us to wash your hands. We should already be washing our hands. So I don't know why this is such a thing. And I had to share this. This stat that I heard was that fist bumps lower the transmission of bacteria by 90%. So there you go. I'm not saying don't shake hands, but if you don't have any hand sanitizer, fist bumps. And it was funny because I said to myself, I said, Corona must be just having immense beer sales. And then I read that Corona's beer sales had nosedived. And I just sat there for a minute. I thought about it. And I'm like, okay. So think about that one. Sherry, hey there. Welcome to the show. Thank you for watching. And so I've literally just in the last 2 days got sucked into TikTok. So odds are you've probably heard of TikTok, even if you don't know what TikTok is. And I found not only is it videos of girls dancing and videos of cats and dogs talking, but I also found there's actually inspirational content on there. People who talk about all kinds of mental health stuff and giving tips. And so it's not just like some of the things that you might see in the beginning. If you search for it, you can find all kinds of content. So actually, I wanted to show this though, because this is one of my favorite videos that I found and I had to share it.
I love you so much.
I love you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you.
I love you too. Oh my God.
Was that as loud as like for you as it was for me? Okay. So anyway, if you have ever time, download TikTok because you actually might be kind of surprised. I was like sitting there impressed going, okay, this isn't all funny, but I had to share that. Okay. I'm really excited. Wedding and event planner Peggy Kelley, a Minneapolis native now living in Pasadena, California. And she and I, the story of how we met, which we're going to tell in just a second. And by the way, throughout my conversation with Peggy, if you have a question for her that you want to ask, drop it in the comments section and we'll try to have Peggy answer whatever it is that you're looking to ask her to share. But Peggy is also a domestic violence survivor. So she's going to tell her story from the courtroom to walking down the aisle. Peggy, welcome to the show.
Hi, good to see you, Brady.
It's good to have you. It's been a few weeks, and before we jump into your story, I wanted to share about how we met because I always believed in coincidence. This picture is where my friend Julian and I met Peggy, and this was like it's called Podcast Movement just a few weeks ago in California. And what happened was Julian and I said, we haven't even gotten a picture. We're like 3 days into this convention. It's almost over. We need to get a picture in front of the backdrop. And, you're always like, okay, who's around us that can get a picture? And so Peggy happened to be next to us. And we said, Peggy, can you get a picture? Or I said, would you mind getting a picture of my friend and I? Sure. She gets the picture and she's like, I'm going to make sure I do this right. And before you know it, Julian and I, who are also radio broadcasters, found out that Peggy was also in radio. And so we started talking about that. Then it started becoming, well, why are you interested in podcasting? And then before we knew it, I felt like it was only like 45 minutes after we met, we're talking about our personal lives because I believe that day was Valentine's Day. And I was so upset because I found out the wrong flowers were delivered. And I'm sitting there venting. And Peggy was like calming me down, and it was amazing. You knew exactly what to say to me to the point where I know you noticed. You said something, and I got so choked up. And Peggy and gave me a hug, and I was like, "So, first of all, Peggy, thank you for that."
Always. There are no mistakes in the universe at all. And I mean, we were in the middle of the Crystal Ballroom, and you were, the big stage was there. We'd just been in a session, and you two were chatting away. But there seemed to be a little bit of a struggle about how we're going to get this photo. And being an event person, who takes pictures at events? We do, because there's always that moment which you just want to capture. And, and having a little bit of expertise in it to know about lighting and positioning and stuff like that, it turned out pretty good on it. And, and then one thing, because event planners are talkative and we want to engage. And so it's like, who are you? What about this? What about that? And both of you were very animated and fun, and it just naturally unfolded. And when you said radio, it made total sense that you were, expanding into podcasting. I was in radio both in high school, in junior achievement, and then was part of KTSA and KTFM and KRBE in Texas before I came out here into the LA area. So I could totally identify with some of the, what I would call opportunities for growth that happen in the radio market, from moving from place to place, the different time zones, the different, jobs that you have. And I have to tell you, my time in radio really helped me, because I wasn't planning on being an event planner. I don't know what I was planning on being, but it probably wasn't that. But when you look back over your life, you really see exactly how perfect everything is. Even the stuff that you go, there's just no way I'm going to use this. Or there's no way that, life is supposed to be this way. And I've had a lot of moments in my life where I just said, I don't know where this is going to come in. And if I just hang in there long enough, it's going to matter. It's going to matter. And that's how our conversation kind of unfolded.
When you said everything in your life is perfect, like, what do you mean by that?
The nice part about being a little bit more mature, I won't say mature, just older, is that you can look back over your life and see how you have been perfectly moved and positioned, whether it's through job, location, friendship, relationship, family, whatever. And there's a perfect tapestry of life that is truly yours. And being an event planner and wedding planner, I tell stories and I make stories come to life. And so with that, I learn about people and then, make it in real time, especially in the wedding world, because, you have two people coming together as one. And so that's when you really get to see how perfect it is. That, she moved there, he came here, they met there, or they met online, or however it was. And then all the little nuances and ups and downs and ins and out, that's called life, happen. And I think that's probably one of the greatest joys of being a wedding and event person is I tell stories, and I get to hear really amazing stories. And sometimes I get to share my story, which now, as I look back on it, was perfect. It was, because I use it every day. Every day.
I think it's interesting how you became, because you've been doing this for, I believe you said it was like 14 or 15 years, right?
I've been in the events world 31 years, and for the last 14 of them, I've been a business owner. And how that started was I got married at 50, and my now former husband said, "You have to have your own business." And I said, "No." And he said, "Yes." And I said, "No." And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Peace out." Okay. And so we started together the company, which is called Timeless Celebrations. And I did not know how to be a business owner. I knew how to be an employee, and I knew how to be a great producer, designer and producer. So I had to learn how to be in business. And when I want to learn something, I jump in all feet, hands and feet in. So I started, taking classes, and then I would go to seminars, and, whatever I needed to know how to do the business side of this. Now, what I didn't know was happening was that our relationship was new. I mean, even though we had dated on and off, it had been kind of a turbulent dating courtship. But we finally made the commitment, said, yes, we're all in. And we went down the aisle April 22nd, 2006, and started Timeless November 2006. And all of a sudden, what I didn't realize is because I was spending so much time in learning how to be a business owner and to build a business, because it's a new business. It doesn't matter that you've been in business, in the arena a long time. You're still building a new business, and it takes time. What I didn't realize what was happening was abandonment and emotional abandonment, because I was always working, or I was doing, I was studying, or I was over here, and we lost the we in it. And I can see that now. I couldn't see it then. And there was something that I didn't know about my partner, and I don't think that there was any way for me to know about it until this actually happened, was that he was a borderline personality, which it's a mental twist, and it's based around abandonment, either perceived or actual. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to actually, like, I didn't move anywhere, I didn't go anywhere, but he perceived that I had. And what happens in a case like that is the person who is borderline, one of us has got to go, and it's either he figures he's going to die or I have to, but something has to go.
When you say perceived abandonment, was that
Right.
because of how much in the business aspect,
Right.
running the business you were?
Right, because I would come home after working, and a lot of times I worked at home, so I spent a lot of time online, and this is one of the things I tell my couples religiously: get offline, get in your engagement, and because it's so easy to go down that $58 billion industry rabbit hole without Alice. And you won't even know how much time you've been there, and you won't know how far you've come apart. And really that was the key for us. That was the linchpin, that, I was scared that I wasn't going to make it. And I knew how much responsibility we had between houses, and, we were older. So I owned a house. I had, bills to pay, all this other kind of stuff. And I knew what I had to do, and I had to go out there and bring in business. When you're an employee, business comes to you, because I was in very high profile venues. So I had a constant funnel of business. Now I've got to go get it. And thank God I had a referral system from the places that I worked. So I spent a lot of time online, not understanding the impact of it. And then over time, we just got further and further apart. And then it really clicked in, the switch for him. And like I say, what happens in borderline is you go from elation, where you are the best thing in the world, to you have got to go. And I went from the best thing in his life to you got to go. And at first it was verbal, and then it was throwing, and then it was violence. And then finally the big day came in my life where he said, you got to go. And in that case, it was, I need to kill you. And I was just standing there, putting my makeup on, it was a Sunday in January and 2008. And I was getting ready to go to church, not thinking anything more about it. And one minute he was standing in the doorway of the door. And the next minute I've got hands around my throat going, you've got to die. And I was like, how did I get here? And what I learned is I had to go back and look at my part in this. And my part in it was none of it's right, first and foremost, but we all have a part. And my part in it is not understanding the impact of emotional abandonment in a relationship. And that I also do believe that some things happen the way that they do. And it doesn't make him a bad person or anything. Actually, it was probably one of the greatest gifts in my life, because I had to grow up. I had to learn a lot of things that I didn't know anything about. I had to learn about business. I had to learn about finance. I had to learn about the legal system, because I was not willing to stay in that relationship. I did try to resolve it and realize that because of the emotional disorder that we were dealing with, that there was no coming back. There was no coming back. Once that break is made, the break is made. And the best thing to do is for him to move forward, and me also in opposite directions, and just know that that's the way it goes.
Was there a moment there where I guess what I'm trying to ask is, he was in such a situation where he didn't realize what he was doing? I mean, I don't know.
No, they don't. I don't believe so. I don't, like I say, I was getting ready for church. He was looking at MLS listings because he wanted to own a house. We could no more afford another property than we could fly. But in his mind, if he just did that, then he was going to be okay. To realize in 2008, when this was coming into being, there was a lot going on in the market. He's a business owner also, and so there was a lot of angst in the world at that point in time. And, in his mind, he got fixated on what his solution was. And my solution was, if I just work harder, then we're going to be okay. And his solution was, if we just get a house, if we just get this, then he's going to be okay. Now, to backtrack, we were in therapy. We were in couples therapy, and actually my therapist, bless his heart, broke the code and told me what was going on. And he warned me. He said, and when I called him after the fact, I said, how did you know? He said, it was only a matter of time. Because he told me, he said, you have two choices. You can stay and die or leave and live. And that was on Wednesday, and on Sunday, everything went down. And it was like, okay. I stayed incredibly calm until I didn't. And, because you just kind of go into, it's an out of body experience. It's surreal because you're watching what's going on outside of yourself. At least that was my experience. And unfortunately, I saw something that I had witnessed before, which was the dynamic of my own parents, because that is what had happened in my house. So it was like a repeat performance, only in real time in my life now. And so I could very calmly kick him off of me and stand up and go to the door and get in the car and call my best friend. And he said, "What's going on?" And I told him, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Ralph's to get boxes." And I'm done. And, but it took a lot to push me to that point, because when I said I do, I meant it. This was not about not loving a person. This was a unique situation that there were more dynamics that I didn't know in the relationship. There was almost like a third person in the relationship that I didn't even know.
Well, even if you were kind of displaying abandonment to some degree because you were so involved in work and in your career, obviously what happened was an extreme. But that was the trigger. That was basically
that was the trigger. And and I didn't know it. I was doing what I normally, my place of comfort is my job. So I knew that if I could just get that on track, if I could just get the finances on track, if I could just get that, then we were going to be okay. And I took that on instead of coming together with him and saying, "How do we do this?" I took it on myself. Like I had to fix it.
Right. Claire says, "I love your therapist." This is based. I mean, she's right. What an amazing thing that your therapist prepared you for what, I mean,
because he actually broke, I guess, a code within, the industry. Cause he said, I could lose my license for this, and I was like, thank God you did. And it just all just unfolded just like he had prepared me for. So, was I shocked? No, I was, because I just didn't see it coming. But, and there was tremendous sadness about it, because, I had this dream, I truly loved him. I still do, he's a good man. It was just, this was our dynamic. There's a part of me that believes in karmic debt. And I think that there's a part of this that, this lifetime we came together for this moment, because so much on the other side of it, because you can stay in the problem or you can live in the solution. And for me, I like the solution. It just feels better for me. It's a better outfit for me to wear. That it forced me at a mature age to really take a look at me, but also learn what I needed to learn. And I learned about the court system, which in LA, I don't know any court system that's really great, but it sucked, attorneys that didn't show up, attorneys that, here again, abandoned in court, all kinds of stuff. But a couple of things that I feel are really important that I did is I trusted myself. I listened to my intuition. I asked for advice, but I didn't shop it a lot. But I asked key people for advice, professionals and that. But then I really went inside of myself and trusted me. To do what I felt was right. I championed big time for me. I stood up in court for me, after I fired 2 attorneys. I showed up in mediation. I almost lost my house. My house went into foreclosure because of it. Financial ruin happened because of it, because I had allowed access to my credit cards, and that was an old behavior of mine, which I had to really look at and say, if I give enough, then I will be enough and you won't leave me. And, and these are the things, the gifts that came out of it, which are that type of it's a different, it's a hero's journey. Yeah, in so many ways, because at 50 years old, I stepped into this new adventure called marriage. I had been single. I had big jobs. All that kind of stuff. But here I was stepping into an arena that I'd always wanted, but I didn't realize how much I didn't know how to do. And that was my new adventure. And then, I got mentorship. I got some coaching with therapists and things like that because I knew what I didn't know. And then I had that all is lost moment that every hero's journey goes on. And when it all hit the fan, and then out of that comes the other side of it, where you champion for yourself, where you say no, where you trust some people, and with yourself and that, but more so it was about trusting myself. And then on the other side of it, what's getting on the other side of it, and we were 5 years in court, 5 years. Now,
Wow.
Hello. And that was all over the financial part.
I can't imagine what that cost.
Well, it didn't because I championed for myself. I showed up pro per. It cost me a little bit in the beginning. And once I realized that those attorneys were not in it for me, that they were in it for them. And I respect the legal profession. And there's a lot of great attorneys out there. Please don't get this wrong. The two I picked just weren't them. And I fired one of them, and the other one never even showed up in court.
Wow.
You talk about abandonment. He abandoned me. I'm standing in front of the judge, and he's like, "Where's your attorney?" I said, "Beats me. Don't know. Haven't got a clue."
This is a good time to ask, because I know you've referred to something being like, this is a gift.
Right.
This happening is a gift. Can you explain what you mean by that?
I've been able, first of all, I grew so much out of this that I'm one of those people that I need a big lesson to get it. The little ones, they're like, "Oh, that's cute. I'll get back to that." I needed something big on it. And this was big. This got my attention. This broke my heart. But it didn't break my spirit. And that's what I needed. I think that was the part I needed to really get in this, is that I have a very strong spirit. And I've always been a woman of service, not just because I'm an event person and do that piece of it. I am very open about my story, so that if I can, you can. If someone needs to talk, I will talk all night long. You know that about me. I will listen. I will give my experience. I will not give my opinion. And so I feel that I have been able to use this experience for sensitivity in areas that maybe I would not have known. I remember the first wedding I had to do right after I moved out. And the hardest moment was the couple was doing their first dance, and it was the music that my husband and I had danced to. And that was hard. That was hard. I remember literally walking out of a court session and having to go do a rehearsal and have a couple walk down the aisle, and my heart hurt. But I knew that they were okay. I've also had couples that, right before they thought that they were going to get married, they said no, and they didn't. And I'm, a good sounding board. I have some perspective here. Again, I've got a few more years on the planet and that, but most of all is I believe in love. I believe in happily ever after. I always have, I always will. I don't take any of that away from it. I'm not cynical about it. I would have loved the lesson to come differently, but obviously this was the way mine needed to come. Do they all turn out this way? Where someone is saying this is a gift? Probably not. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Absolutely not. But if this is your story, or if this does happen to you, then call me. I will talk with you. I will champion with you. I will cheer you on because somebody needs to. And I will share with you the parts of me that had to come forth and grow and be willing to be vulnerable and to be bold, and when to say no, enough, and that, but also not wear it like a mantle, because I think that can happen too. It's a part of me, but there's so much more to me than that piece. And I champion, like I say, being a wedding planner, I champion for love every day on it. I believe that I will have happily ever after. I never give up that piece. Can't.
You shouldn't. I do have to ask you one more question.
Okay.
And because you're a wedding planner and because you've had the experiences that you've had, can you tell if a couple shouldn't be walking down the aisle?
There's a pregnant pause there. I may have, I can't tell what's right for anybody. That has to come within their heart. I will champion for their relationship more than I will champion for their wedding, because at the end of the day, this is where it gets confusing.
I like that.
I will champion for their marriage. I will champion for their relationship. You have to remember, a wedding is a party. A marriage is something else. And what I teach my couples is that as you plan your wedding, you are also building your marriage. And that's my platform in my wedding planning business, is how you plan your wedding is how you build your marriage. And what I mean by that is the skills and the relationship skills, communication, collaboration, negotiation, compromise, creativity, all of these are skills that you use in relationship and in marriage. It's also what you use when you're planning a wedding. So as you plan this and that, as you plan your wedding and your wedding ceremony and all of that, you're also, I just put it out there, you're building the foundation of your marriage. So where you put your focus is kind of how things are going to at least start off a bit. Wrap yourself with professionals. That's what I do. I'm part therapist and part wedding planner and part.
That's what I said. I said, Peggy, you're like a therapist. I'm going to start paying you. You're so good. Right. I love it.
But I'm also, and I'm not a mom. Now here's the deal. I'm not a mom. I'm a really cool aunt. But I'm not a mom. That role's already been taken. But I'm intuitive. I'm kind of an empath on that. It's the Scorpio in me. And I really just want the best for the couple and for the marriage, because the marriage is a separate living, breathing entity when two people come together. They talk about, the circles in the middle. You've got the bride, you've got the groom. Now you've got the overlap, and it's the center part in there that is the marriage, and it's a living, breathing, entity on that. And and sometimes we get so caught up in the party or the Instagram moment that, I hear one more Instagram moment, I'm just going to oh, please.
You have to do it for the gram. So.
No, you don't. The gram. Last gram I saw had COVID. No, we won't go there.
I'm totally.
That's a totally other gram.
Well, on that note, I want to ask: is timelesscelebrations.com? Is that the best way for people to get a hold of you?
That or that's my website. But Peggy at Timeless Celebrations. I'm really good on email, and I'm a late night girl.
Peggy at timelesscelebrations.com.
Peggy at timelesscelebrations plural.com. I will answer anything. I will email you back. You may get it overnight or whatever, wherever you are in the world. And I genuinely care. I want the best for you. But most of all, believe in love. Believe in love. And at the end of the day, get offline and get back into your engagement. The engagement time is incredibly important. It's from yes to I do. And that's a journey. And you're going to change and you're going to evolve and you're going to find out things about each other. And you're going to go on date night. I tell the men, you're going to love this, Brody. I tell the men that they are in charge of date night the week of the wedding. The week of the wedding. Now you can do it, for the month of the planning. That's fine. But this is really important. Tuesday, the week of the wedding, you have to do a really, really, really yummy date. And here's why. Wednesday, family's moving in because Friday, let's go on the basis that the wedding's on Saturday. Friday, you're going to probably be doing rehearsal and last minute stuff and everything. And then Saturday is the wedding. That day is going to go faster than a speeding bullet leaping tall buildings. It goes by so fast. It's like 10 hours go by in 2. And then Sunday, you may be doing a brunch or you're seeing friends that are in from out of town or whatever. So Tuesday is like your day to truly connect really, really tight and get grounded in each other.
So I would tell any guy or girl, like, just plan way in advance. Don't wait till the 11th hour because you're going to have so much on your mind and you're going to be so just plan, figure it out way in advance. So when that comes, all you got to do is make it happen.
That's it. But step back in it, step back in the moments, stop, breathe, really be present with each other. There's a wonderful thing that happens. And I love the grooms. I mean, I love my brides, but I really love my grooms. And this is something that happened that I always talk about. I had one of my grooms that he was under the chuppah, Jewish wedding. As his bride was walking down the aisle, you literally could see his heart open wider. And with every step she took closer to him, he got wider and more open and wider. And you could feel it. You can see it on the video. That's how amazing it was to see this man's heart open and totally welcome her in to his life. And that's what marriage is.
Jewish weddings are fun as it is.
Oh, they're great.
A lot of Jewish celebrations are just so much fun.
Well, because they're family based. It's tradition, ritual, and family.
Peggy, thank you so much for talking on the show and sharing your story. And I feel like it can inspire a lot of people who may be going through what you've experienced or know somebody, and you're a survivor. And
be safe. Most of all, trust yourself. If it's a duck, it's a duck, it's a duck. We've had that conversation, you and I. If it's a duck, it quacks. I tried to not make it what eventually it became, because you could see it coming. If you have a lot of verbal, if you have, some physical things, going on, it's not going to change. I'm sorry. At least that's my personal experience. It might, with therapy and guidance and all that, but please, no matter what, and this is for men and women, be safe, trust yourself, listen to the whisper inside of you that says, this may not be a good idea. And it's not about not loving them. It's about loving you more. And I had to love me more.
Self-care. #self-care. There it is. Peggy, thank you so much.
You got it.
Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me. And anybody, email me. I'm here for you.
Peggy at timelesscelebrations.com. There you go. Awesome.
Great.
You get me.
Well.
All right. Talk to you soon. Wow. An amazing story from Peggy. So hopefully that was able to inspire you or somebody out there. And Peggy at timelesscelebrations.com. So thank you for watching. Going to be taking a week or two off. Got some things, got to visit my parents, go see some friends, and get some things taken care of. But the show will pick back up in a few weeks. And I'm excited because our marriage and relationship therapists, Carol Cullen and Shelley Hummel, will be joining us again. I think talking about rekindling the flame in the relationship and other topics as well. And something that's really close to my heart is the Get Your Rear in Gear event. Now, this happens all over the country. And it's close to me because my mom is a multi-time colon cancer survivor. She is the strongest woman that I know. And when I was in Las Vegas, I got involved with it there. And it's a 5K walk, 5K run. I mean, it's a great event for the family. And here in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area, it's going to be happening Saturday morning at the Wake Med Soccer Park. I believe registration starts at 7:30. I will be there representing and honoring my mom. Get Your Rear in Gear. And you can go online and find the event nearest you. Hopefully it's happening in your city. coloncancercoalition.org. That's coloncancercoalition.org. I hope my self-inspired show, based on my decision to focus on my personal life and those people in it, may inspire you or somebody you know. At the end of the day, it's all about entertaining, but more so inspiring. Now, if you watched on Facebook, then like and follow if the content was meaningful to you. If you watched on YouTube, subscribe, and know you can watch live online on demand and keep the conversation going, because I do read the comments. I will respond. BrodyRadio.com. And another reminder, every time I start live online, I do a quick check-in with a friend, a fan. And again, it's not the full-on interview. It's just a quick hello. I love to see you, say hi, and thank you for your support. You can email, you can reach out on social media, or you can even record a voice message on the bottom of my website, BrodyRadio.com. That's it. Get connected, stay inspired, and be happy. Thanks for watching.